Good morning, YouTube. This is Zachary Donaldson. This is the fourth Disney Real-Long Storybook episode. The title was 101 Dalmatians, including no song. The narrator of it was Russi Taylor, who played as Nanny. Enjoy, everybody.
Hello, dearies. My name is Nanny, and I work for a lovely young woman named Anita. Actually, I helped raise Anita when she was a girl, and I went back to work for her and her husband Roger right around the time their family grew to include 101 Dalmatians. It's a wonderful story. I'll tell you all about it. You can read along with me if you'd like. Every time you hear this sound, it's time to turn the page. Let's begin. Every morning, Roger, a young American fellow living in London, was awakened by his dog, a Dalmatian named Pongo. Pongo would shut off the alarm clock, turn on the bath water, start the coffee maker, and fetch the milk from the front porch. Afterwards, he and Roger would go to the park. One day in the park, Pongo visited with his dog friend while Roger read the newspaper. The day's headline was a terrible story of a tiger murdered at the zoo for its beautiful pelt. It made Roger sad. He couldn't imagine who would do such a horrible thing. Across town, Anita wondered the very same thing. Anita worked as a fashion designer for the glamorous but selfish Cruella de Vil. Their theme was supposed to be tiger stripes, but that day, Cruella noticed Anita drawing a gown with a Dalmatian spotted print. Cruella glanced from the gown to a picture of Birdie, Anita's Dalmatian, on the desk. She snatched up the drawing and sketched in some changes. Cruella wasn't drawing a printed gown. She was drawing a fur coat. Now, Roger designs video games for a living. At the time, he was working on one called Fetch, about a Dalmatian playing with a bright red ball. That morning, he met with a video game company that didn't think the game's chubby little dog catcher was a scary enough bad guy. They sent Roger back to the drawing board. Outside, Pongo, waiting patiently for Roger, spotted Anita pedaling by on her bicycle with Birdie running beside her. Oh, Pongo became very excited at the sight of the beautiful Birdie. Roger came out and headed for his own bicycle. Oh, he could barely control Pongo, who was already hopelessly in love. Roger tried to head for home, but Pongo's leash was attached to the handlebars, and he wanted to follow Birdie in the other direction. The terrified Roger lost control of his bike, and Pongo dragged him on a high-speed chase. They drove dangerously through traffic and sent passers-by scattering everywhere as they raced after Anita and Birdie towards the park. Just as they entered the park gates, the leash broke. Pongo she meant her baby, but Cruella made it clear she was talking about the puppies. On a stormy night in late autumn, Pongo and Roger waited anxiously in the living room while Anita and I watched over Birdie in the kitchen. Her time had come. She gave birth to 15 puppies. Oh, Pongo was the proudest father I'd ever seen, and Roger was just as proud. Immediately afterwards, Cruella swept in. We were shocked. She wanted to buy the puppies and take them off in a bag that very minute. She offered to pay a lot of money, but it didn't matter. When Anita refused to sell them, Cruella fired her on the spot. The puppies grew fast. Then one night, Cruella's men, Horace and Jasper, watched secretly until Roger and Anita took Pongo and Birdie for their daily walk. They forced their way in, locked me in a closet, and stole the puppies. Oh, it was horrible. Jasper carried the wriggling, squirming bag of crying puppies out to their lorry, or truck as Americans say. A bulldog and his owner were passing by, and the bulldog sensed that something was very wrong. He began to bark. Birdie and Pongo heard the bulldog from across the park and raced back to the house. They were too late. The puppies were gone. Jasper and Horace stopped at a small village inn to telephone Cruella. While they were inside, Whizzer, the bravest and craftiest puppy, escaped from the bag in the back of the lorry. Whizzer barked, and Kipper, a little terrier sleeping in a doorway nearby, answered him. The sad little Whizzer told Kipper the puppy's dreadful story. When Horace and Jasper returned and drove off, Kipper ran after them. He chased the lorry out of town and down the road until he saw it stop at a big, crumbling house. The Narrator. Of course, poor Birdie and Pongo were very upset. Pongo went up to the roof and started calling loudly into the dark, starry night. He listened, and from far away he got a reply from another dog. Pongo answered back, telling the story of his dog-napped puppies. Not understanding dog language and thinking poor Pongo would wake up the neighborhood, Roger came up and dragged Pongo off the roof. But the news was already traveling from one dog to another. Pongo's desperate message was passed across London and into the countryside. Pongo Kipper dragged Whizzer out to the roof and rolled him down the spout to safety. Then Pokey let the puppies off through the snow to the barn. Kipper turned to leave, but Jasper, bruised and battered, was waiting for him. Kipper backed away from Jasper until the little dog was teetering right on the edge of the roof. Just then, Cruella's sleek white car pulled up. Jasper panicked. Here he was, tattered and beaten on the roof, and the puppies had escaped. He was right to be worried, because Cruella was furious when she heard what had happened. She ordered Jasper to get down and catch the puppies at once. Jasper rounded up the trembling, frozen chorus, and they tried to drive off in the lorry. However, the squirrel had done a good job gnawing on the engine wires. It barely ran. When Horace tried to turn on the heat, fire leapt out of the vents. The men jumped from the smoking cab just seconds before the whole lorry blew up in a tremendous explosion. Meanwhile, Pongo and Purdy were racing across the countryside towards the farm with the aid of friendly animals along the way. When at last they arrived at the barn, what a joyful reunion they had with their 15 puppies and 83 others as well. But Cruella was also hot on the trail of the runaway puppies. She saw their tracks and drove right up to the barn. Luckily, a crow's hider had sounded the alarm. Pongo and Purdy quickly herded the puppies out an opening in the barn's back wall as Cruella determinedly picked her way through the mud. Just as she got to the barn door, the crow swooped down and ripped Cruella's fur hat off her head. Angry, she peered through the peephole in the door, but was sorry she did. The horse on the other side kicked it, knocking Cruella backward into the mud. But Cruella didn't give up. She called to the puppies in the sweetest voice she could. She checked the rafters and was pelted with eggs from roosting chickens. A little tail wagged from the hayloft. Certain that she'd found a puppy, Cruella yanked on it, and a big fat pig flung down on top of her. Back at the narrator, a lone puppy woke up in the library and looked around. He'd been left behind. Oh, the puppy started to cry. At the same time, Cruella, standing in the barn door, was horrified to see a line of dogs heading off into the distance. For all her misery, the Dalmatians still had escaped. Just as she was leaving, she spotted her hat on a windowsill. Cruella stumbled towards it, but dropped through the open floor right into a vat of old molasses. Slowly, slowly, she sank into the sticky goo. The police arrived, and the worn-out Jasper and Horace gave themselves up happily. The paddy wagon looked so safe and warm that Horace climbed right into it himself. The police were amazed to see Purdy and Pongo leading 98 puppies into town. They were followed shortly by Kipper, limping wearily, carrying the pup that had been left behind in the library by the scruff of the neck. 101 Dalmatians. At the farm, the horse booted the filthy, sticky Cruella right out of the barn and into the pigsty, just in time to be arrested by the police. And so, all was well. Inspired by the ordeal, Roger quickly created a new version of Fetch, using Cruella as the villain. It became a huge hit. Roger and Anita bought the Manatee, fixed it up, and moved in. By the next year, their baby daughter was born. They were so happy. A new baby, a new house, a whole new life. They invited me to come live with them, which I did. Oh, and they brought 84 stepchildren and their children, and so on, and so on, and so on. That was the end of our story. If you'd like to hear it again, just turn the tape over.
This is Zachary Donaldson signing out. I hope you'll be watching. Yeah, the tape just stopped. Sorry. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon in the future.